Move. Can you move that? Okay, perfect.
So we're going to Arizona shoot.
Yeah. Camera's rolling uh, and okay, Arizona. Talk
Oh,
to me.
wow.
What was going on? Okay, so set up this Arizona. What happened with Arizona?
Arizona it just keeps on getting better and better.
Okay.
So, Arizona, when I'm home from Hawthorne and Malibu Beach, then I go back home and kind of mesh into regular life, but it wasn't regular for long. Because the next thing I know, I have Dan Warner from RM Sotheby's texting me on the phone. He was in Monterey, California. Everything keeps coming back to California. So he's at an auction in Monterey that there was a Tesla Roadster there, serial number 552. So he's texting me, and I'm telling him, hey man, that's good value. It had a brand new battery put in by Tesla, which was an R80 battery, which is a long range battery. And the thing was owned by a plastic surgeon in LA. So anyways, I asked him, I'm like, hey, do you want to go halvesies, right? Want to go partners on it? And he's like, yeah. And then we watched the thing. We got it for what we felt was a very good price. And boom, I'm half owner in another Roadster. Wow. Right? Because Dan Warner, he's from my hometown. I work with his son.
Interesting.
Yeah. And, I've done business with the guys over at RM Sotheby's. So, anyways, that was in Monterey, but he has a house in Arizona. So he shipped the car to Arizona, which another Tesla Roadster doctor lives in Arizona, which is Gruber Motors. It's crazy, right? So, now another interesting coincidence, I had another real estate event in Arizona from my coaching company, Buffini Coaching. So anyways, the stars aligned. You can't fight that stuff. So anyways, I needed some time to collect my thoughts. So I thought I was going to challenge myself and prove what EVs can do. From Chatham, Ontario, Canada, I drove my Tesla Model S Plaid to Arizona. Wow. Yeah. All alongside Route 66. I saw wild horses, elk, went through Red Rock area, Sedona. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So I drove this whole route hassle-free through the charging network. I said earlier in the show about camping mode. You put it in camping mode, you sleep in the back while you're charging. You got YouTube and Netflix. I brought my golf clubs. I golfed in St. Louis, Missouri. I golfed in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the University of New Mexico. It was awesome. So then I pick up the Roadster in Arizona, and we go to Gruber Motors and meet Peter Gruber.
Who is Peter Gruber?
So Gruber Motors, he also works on Tesla Roadsters.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. He's an intellect engineer type electronics. I'm not sure of his exact background, but he rebuilds a lot of the computer pieces that the parts are unavailable, along with other stuff. So he refurbishes. He's another one that's preserving these Tesla Roadsters.
Really? Well, so how did you feel? What was that thought when you first walked into his building?
Oh, you're a Tesla Roadster fan, and you're walking into Candyland, You know, what was there, 40 roadsters there? It was amazing.
It was amazing.
It was just amazing. And, you know, I had talked to Peter previously, and, you know, we see him on Facebook as well. And he does videos on, you know, the roadster and maintaining the roadster. So on the first shoot, you know, I got to meet a lot of people and Carl, a lot of my heroes, you know, maintaining the roadsters. And now I'm meeting more people. I'm picking up another roadster. I've never been in Arizona before. Arizona is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And cruising, so now I'm cruising the streets of Arizona in another roadster.
And it's hot.
It's hot, man. It was sweet. It was unbelievable. So, you know, we had a good time. We were cruising Boulder Mountain and Cowboy Village and all these things. And at the same time, now, this is an interesting thing that happened. I'm in Amarillo, Texas. And you know this community that I talk about?
Yeah.
I'm on the phone with one of the owners who lives in Arizona.
Okay.
And he reached, you know, we get talking, and he says I can stay in his guest house for free. So this guy, I stay in his guest house in a beautiful gated community because he owns a roadster as well.
Great. So Peter Gruber, what was the big takeaway when you're on your sit-down conversation with Peter? What did you realize?
Peter knows his stuff. When it comes to computers, when it comes to, you know, chips, and I can't even remember some of the words, you know, like, but some of the components, like, see, the Tesla Roadster is two things. It's a battery and a computer, right? There's all the stuff. There's many less parts in an electric vehicle than regular ICE engine vehicle, which is internal combustion engine. But you got a battery and a computer. You got to make sure your battery's in good shape. You got to make sure your computer's in good shape. These roadsters now were first put out in 2008. Mine are 2010. So, you know, they're like 14 years old, you know? So they're starting, you know, they're starting to need parts, which are unavailable. So you have passionate people creating parts, making stuff. So he has a very nice facility in Phoenix, to which I think around the corner is the Rivian, which is another electric company that makes the Rivian pickup truck that's very popular, and we saw a lot of those on the road when we were there. So, you know, that's just another helpful person in the community to preserve these, because they're so fun to drive. You know, that's the thing, is the experience of electric vehicle, totally different. I go back to driving an ICE vehicle. There's funny things that happen. A lot of times you'll get out of the vehicle and it'll still be running, because you just get out of an electric vehicle because it's always on.
Right. Hold that thought. We're still rolling, and do we have battery? We're still rolling. Okay, we're still rolling. Okay, what was the biggest? What is one thing that? Just give me one thing that Peter Gruber, that you didn't realize that he told you, that something technical that was so important, vitally important, to help you with your roaster. Was there something that you just absolutely just kind of like saved the day?
Well, really, with my roadsters, they're both in very good shape. So as far as me, I know that there's people, if I have problem, there's people that I can reach out to help me preserve the roadsters that I own. Now, the one thing that was very interesting was the whole history that we talked about with Peter. That was with the government grant and the T0 and the Mark and Martin, and then enter Elon Musk, like the sequence of events, right? So the sequence of events to where, you know, I guess the early beginnings, where it all started. Like, that's amazing. And it just, is that where it started, or did it start even earlier? right? Like, let's say, because Edison and Tesla, Edison, I believe, said that electric vehicles were the way to go, that one day they were going to rule the world. Now that's going back 100 years, but that's another story altogether.
Well, let's go. Let's lead right into this right now. This last 2 days, starting off with yesterday.
All right, so here we are. Phoenix, Malibu,
Yeah.
Hawthorne, Phoenix, they were all off the hook. It was fantastic. We're here at the last shoot.
Where?
We are in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, which has a $5 billion new factory going up for batteries to supply the big three. Now that's going to have 2,500 jobs, and that is dramatically going to affect this community.
The big three. What's the big three?
Well, I know that they're involved with LG and Chrysler, the particular battery plant that we visited. So that is one thing that's going to change the landscape here in southwestern Ontario.
Okay.
Really. So we've got that. Now, an interesting thing too, if I can roll back a bit, is the fact that electric vehicles have been around for about almost 120 years. We were at the Henry Ford Museum that Clara Ford, she loved her electric vehicle. She loved it because it was quiet. She loved it because it was clean. And it was easy. Because the ladies couldn't start the Model T with the crank. It was always on. So the reason that Clara loved her electric vehicle is why we love electric vehicles today. It's a broader market, and technology has gotten to the point where the reliability is superior. And this is the thing, I just would really like to do a call out to anybody that has doubts to electric vehicle, to go take one for a ride. Rent one for a couple of days. Because once you try something better, it's hard to go back.
Right. Isn't that fascinating? Henry Ford. So then, after you went to the museum, what did you do after the museum?
After the museum, God, it's just a blur. I know that we had the battery.
Niagara Falls.
We had the battery had battery shoot at the battery facility.
Yeah.
But then we double teamed it to Niagara Falls.
Okay.
Niagara Falls was awesome, and that's part of the story as well.
Wow.
So Nikola Tesla, he was alternating current, which is electricity, which is power, really. So I find his story amazing.
Just keep talking.
And his story is amazing in that he was alternating current. There's the War of the Currents, which was a war between Tesla and Edison. That's a whole nother story, but I believe it was Chicago World's Fair that Tesla lit up Chicago World's Fair, and then he got the contract to put the generators behind the falls that had free energy to support so many houses in U.S. and Canada. Just like we are now. We're right at the border of U.S. and Canada here in Windsor. So in Niagara Falls, it's Niagara Falls and Buffalo, New York. So you have all this free energy, and that was his dream. Nikola Tesla wanted to give the world free energy, but economics and technology didn't make it happen. But like I say, Nikola Tesla, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother documentary.
How long have you been following Nikola Tesla? I mean, what's that all about? Because not many know.
Well, they're beginning to know. There's a statue at Niagara Falls, and that's why I wanted to go. And you were first time in Canada, you had to see Niagara Falls. It's a beautiful sight, and they're finally knowing, I guess, the depth of his genius. I always admire the one saying, somebody asked Albert Einstein, they said, Albert, what's it like to be the smartest person on the planet? And Albert Einstein's answer was brilliant. He said, I'm not sure. You'll have to ask Nikola Tesla.
Wow, that's fascinating. So now
he was friends with Mark Twain as well.
He was.
Yeah, Mark Twain was in his laboratory. They were good friends. And Mark Twain is, he's Mark Twain.
How did you feel when you were right there at the statue? Like, what was that feeling like to be so close to this? Like,
Yeah. Well, I always picture myself that Nikola Tesla was there, looking at the falls, thinking of the power of Mother Nature and how he could harness that power, right? So I always think of who walked in these footsteps before, and I was, probably walking in the same ground, the same area of Nikola Tesla. Just like here we are here in this house that was built in 1928 by a rum runner during Prohibition, and Al Capone could have been in this room. Al Capone used to visit this house. So, we follow steps, but whose steps are we following in? What steps are there? And I think we're at the whole thing with technology, where a lot of these things are converging. And to get to this documentary in particular, are we at the tipping point of battery storage, technology, innovation, where we're creating a new way of traveling, maybe a new way of life?
Great. How did this, so tell me about this rally. What was this all about? How did that make you? What was going on here?
Well, after Niagara Falls, we certainly packed our day yesterday, and we got home and crashed. Man, it was like we needed a recharge. There was no more energy in the battery because we were burning the candle or burning the battery at both ends. So this morning we woke up early. I was up at 5:30. We met with a group of friends, with Mach-E's and the police cruiser Model 3, right? And we met at our place. We met at the waterfront in Windsor with Detroit in the background. Hey man, Detroit is the Motor City, right?
Yeah.
This is where Henry Ford put it together, creating the Model T. And we cannot doubt that the automobile changed the face of the world. And now we're at an evolution of that automobile. How's it going to change it in the future? So here we decided to have a EV meetup where a bunch of us who are passionate about EVs met at the river bank of the Detroit River to discuss EVs and the impact on our lives and the impact on the future of the automotive industry. We had General Motors cars there. We had Hyundais. We had the Ford Lightning, the Mach-E, the Model 3. We had the Roadster, right? We had a little bit of everything. But one thing that we all had in common, I don't think one person spoke one negative word about their experience with the electric vehicle. Everything was positive. None of the people that were there today, or none of the people that I run into on a daily basis that have an electric vehicle would ever go back to owning an ICE vehicle, because the experience changes you.
Give me a tie-in on that. Give me some of that big three. The big three are upset right
I
now.
know. I got
Action on it.
So what I always find amazing, right? Because I can remember the big three. right? There's the big three, and then of course you got Volkswagen as well as in there. But a lot of them, they were such naysayers on the Tesla movement. They were naysayers. They were laughing at Tesla. Elon, one thing, total respect. He took it to the limit. He bet everything on his dream. And they were laughing at Tesla. They're not laughing now. They're crying, man. They're trying to catch up.
Will they?
I put them about. I think there's going to be one or two that can catch up. There's some that I don't even think they can catch up. I've gone to dealerships. These dealerships need training. They don't know how to sell electric vehicles. They don't know. They don't know. They're still laughing. But they're laughing because of their lack of knowledge.
Where did you grow up?
Chatham, Ontario, man. I'm ChathamOntario.com, man. That's my website.
Really? Well, where did you, I mean, when you grew up, when you say Chatham, what street did you grow up?
One Devon Drive.
Really? How was it there?
It was awesome. It was awesome.
What was the biggest thing there? I mean, just growing up there, how did that make you?
Well, it was just on the outskirts of Chatham. Everybody had big lawns. So we cut grass, right? We cut all the people's grass. I have 3 older brothers, and we cut a lot of grass, and that was my, jelly bean and licorice money. I'd ride my bicycle down to the variety store. Then my school was just a little bit further down there. My best friend was around the corner. We used to race go-karts.
Really?
Yeah, we used to race go-karts. My number's 44.
Really?
Yeah. My buddy Brad was 33. I was 44. We raced go-karts. My Roadster reminds me of my go-kart.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sweet. It's sweet.
Wow.
So, anyways, we love racing go-karts. Always love cars, going fast. Adrenaline. I guess adrenaline.
How did that make you feel? What was that whole? Let me ask you this, and we'll kind of start wrapping it.
Yeah.
This whole EV revolution, evolution. Tell me about more of this tipping point and how it's transcended into different arenas. Because you're in Malibu, there's an EV, community.
Yeah.
You're right here in your own backyard now. How did that make you? I mean, those are everyday people. Talk about when you go into this rally, you see just mom and pops, and just everybody's there. I mean, anybody. How's that relevant right now to you? Does that make sense?
No,
it doesn't. How did that?
Regular people driving EVs. That's what you're getting at, right?
Yes.
All right. The whole thing with EVs, it's regular people changing their lives, buying an EV, and liking what they're driving. Right? So it's the knowledge that we have to get around. We have to. I understand there's a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge and a lot of time in the internal combustion engine. This is a different system. To me, it's the same thing. I always remember a picture of Times Square in New York, right around the turn of the century in 1900. They were all horses and 2 cars, 2 Model Ts, I believe. And then less than 10 years later, they were all cars and 2 horses. So I think we could be at that tipping point of going from horses to cars to internal combustion cars to electric cars.
Gotcha. And give me a glimpse. Why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this?
What's this itch that you have to scratch?
So the reason why we put this whole documentary together was just to expand the knowledge of the electric vehicle and how it's changing, one, the factories that build vehicles. We've witnessed that with Tesla's new Gigafactory in Texas and one in Shanghai. And as a matter of fact, I believe they're looking to build a factory in Canada, which will either be in Ontario or Quebec. But I certainly would like to talk to the people in charge of that to tell them and advise and talk to them about where would the best location in Canada be for their factory.
How do you feel now by completing this documentary? What do you feel now?
Yeah. Well, I feel, that I'm excited to see if people like it. And to change their thinking on the electric vehicle. I'm not asking them to accept it. I'm asking them to try it.
Why?
Why not? Why not? Probably the guy at the turn of the century that put the horseshoes on horses, he probably didn't want to drive a car. But I'll guarantee he was driving a car 10 years later, and he got retrained in a different business, and he probably got a job at the company that made cars.
I want you to give me special thanks to five people right now. Here or not here. Live or not here. Give me 5 real quick. Let's see. Yeah. Give me thoughts. I want to say that. Go ahead.
There's so many people to thank. I mean, the list is endless, and we're going to have them on the credits of the documentary. But if I could look back into time, whether present or past or future, I think we really have to thank, one, Nikola Tesla, who I admire his life, who basically he died penniless. But I admire his character.
Next.
We've got to thank Elon Musk for sticking it out and fighting the fight, because this is something that has come time. It's cleaner, it's meaner. He had to fight against the big three, plus Volkswagen, gas companies. It was a fight. That next I have to thank the Tesla Roadster community. We've got Carl Medlock, we've got Peter Gruber, all the Tesla Roadster owners, that we came together and we communicate. Communicate. So that's 3.
Yeah.
All right.
Friends and family.
Yeah. Mom and dad.
That's last.
Oh.
Yeah. Friends and family
Yeah.
in action.
Obviously, somebody that I have to thank. All the friends, all the family, all the support in pulling this off. I got a lot going on in my life. I don't do documentaries as a whole. This is my first time at this, right? I also have a business and family. I got my boys, my 3 boys. One's an electrician, heavy equipment operator, and a banjo player. So, and of course, my higher power, right? There's somebody upstairs. I don't know if it's maybe the recent passing of my parents, right? But maybe I finally got enough people up in heaven that are helping me.
I'm proud of you. And I'm proud of that. And walk out.
I'm proud.
What you just said. Finally,
Okay.
yeah. But get up there and walk out of the shot. Okay? At last.
Okay.
In action.
I gotta get going, but
Yeah.
you're almost done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Last.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta finish watering all these plants.
Okay.
Tag in and walk out. Okay, go ahead. In action.
So obviously the last person, the last couple, the last people that I have to thank is mom and dad. Right? My mom and dad. My dad taught us how to work hard. I worked hard. He was in the real estate business. I'm in the real estate business. He helped me to work hard to afford some of the things. And then my mom taught me how to be a good person. So many people to thank. Such a great experience. And until we meet again, I'm out.
And that's a cut, and that's a wrap. Thank you.
All right.